Hello friends. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now, let's begin. I turned 18 the week before Thanksgiving. Old enough to vote, old enough to enlist, but still too young, apparently, for anyone to believe what I saw with my own eyes. That year, we hosted at our place in the Denver suburbs, a big cedar and stone house my parents had stretched to afford, perched on a ridge where the snow starts early. Mom had been up since 4, brining a 24-pound turkey, making her famous sage and dried cherry stuffing, rolling out dough for 6 pumpkin pies. Dad hauled the extra leaves for the dining table out of the basement, while the little kids ran wild in their pilgrim hats from school. 28 people were coming. Aunt Teresa and Uncle Ray flew in from Seattle with the twins. Grandma and Grandpa drove down from Cheyenne with their bourbon pecan pie nobody could match. Even my cousin Jade came home from UCLA for the first time in 2 years. Everyone kept saying the same thing. Look at this spread. Look at this family. We are so blessed. Nobody mentioned that Uncle Victor rolled in an hour late in his new matte black Escalade, reeking of vodka and that cloying cologne he bathes in. Nobody mentioned that Lena, his girlfriend of 4 years, followed 10 steps behind him, head down, huge sunglasses on even though the sky was the color of steel and the porch light was dim. Mom's smile froze for half a second when she hugged Lena, then snapped back twice as bright. I was sent to the detached garage for more chairs, the heated ones we only break out when the crowd spills past 25. The side door creaked. Cold bit my cheeks. I flicked on the fluorescent lights and started dragging the canvas chairs off the rack. That's when I heard it. Not voices at first. A thud. Then another. Something heavy hitting drywall. Then Lena's voice, small, shredded, pleading. "Vic, please, not here, not in front of your family." I edged past my dad's Tacoma and peered around the bumper of Mom's Suburban. Victor had Lena pinned against the far wall between the lawnmower and the shelves of Christmas decorations we hadn't put away since 2019. One hand clamped around her throat, the other drawn back. Her sunglasses lay cracked on the concrete. The garage light was merciless. I saw everything. The black eye already blooming purple, the older yellow bruise on her cheekbone, the split inside her lower lip shining wet and red. He was hissing something about her brother in Albuquerque. "He opens his mouth again, Lena, and I swear to God." She tried to shake her head. Couldn't. Her toes barely touched the ground. My heart slammed so hard I thought the whole neighborhood would hear it. I should have screamed, should have sprinted inside. Instead, my body locked up. Same as in nightmares where the monster is right there and your legs turn to cement. Then his fist moved, fast, professional, straight into her ribs. The sound she made wasn't human. It was air punched out of a broken thing. Something snapped in me. I grabbed the aluminum baseball bat we keep in the umbrella stand by the door, my brother's old Dimarini, and I swung it against the metal shelving as hard as I could. Clang, clang, clang. Tools rained down. I yelled at the top of my lungs. "Mom said, 'We need the heated chairs now. I can't find the stupid cords.'" Victor dropped her like she was burning him. Lena slid down the wall, coughing, arms wrapped around her middle. By the time he stepped into view, he was smiling the easy, handsome smile that always got him out of trouble. "Hey kiddo," he said, voice smooth as the bourbon he'd been drinking. "Need a hand?" His knuckles were already swelling. Lena stayed in the shadows, pulling her hair forward like a curtain, slipping the broken sunglasses into her pocket with shaking fingers. When she walked past us toward the house, She moved like every breath cost her something irreplaceable. Victor's hand settled on the small of her back, gentle to anyone watching from 10 feet away. His thumb pressed hard enough to leave new bruises. I carried 6 chairs inside. My arms shook so badly I had to set them down twice. Mom was arranging the charcuterie board, prosciutto roses, honeycomb, rosemary crackers in perfect circles. I tried to tell her. The words came out strangled. "Mom, Uncle Victor he's hurting Lena in the garage. Right now." She didn't look up, just kept adjusting a slice of manchego. "Sweetie, we'll talk after dinner. Everyone's here. Let's not ruin Thanksgiving." "Mom, he choked her. He hit her. She can't even breathe right." Her hand shot out and gripped my wrist so hard the bones ground together. Her eyes finally met mine. Bright blue, furious, terrified. "Victor's going through a rough patch," she whispered. "Business has been complicated. Lena knows how to calm him down. You will not make a scene today. Do you understand me?" She let go and sailed into the dining room with the board, smile blazing like nothing happened. Dinner was torture in slow motion. 28 people around the extended table, passing mashed potatoes and gravy boats, laughing too loud. Lena sat between Victor and the wall. She flinched every time his elbow moved. She ate nothing. Her left hand never left her lap, probably holding her ribs together. Grandma told the same story about the blizzard of '83. Uncle Ray carved the turkey like he was auditioning for Norman Rockwell. The kids argued over who got the drumsticks. Halfway through, Lena excused herself to the powder room. She was gone 18 minutes. When she came back, fresh concealer couldn't quite hide the swelling. Victor joked loudly, "Women in their makeup, right?" Everyone laughed, even my dad. That's when it hit me like a slap. They all knew. After pie, while the adults migrated to the living room with coffee and Baileys, I cornered Jade by the staircase. I told her everything. She went white under her LA tan. Then she told me this wasn't new. She'd seen the bruises last Christmas, finger-shaped on Lena's biceps that Lena blamed on rock climbing. Jade had asked Aunt Teresa about it once. Teresa shut her down with one sentence. "Mind your own future, sweetheart." Then Jade told me the part that made my stomach drop through the floor. Victor had bankrolled half the family, 25 grand to Uncle Ray when the seafood restaurant almost went under. Mortgage payments for Grandma and Grandpa after Grandpa's heart surgery ate their savings. The seed money for my parents' kitchen remodel that turned into the down payment on this ridiculous house. Hush money, basically. He showed up to every reunion with Apple Watches for the kids, paid every dinner check in cash, flew first class, and made sure everyone saw it. Golden boy. Generous Victor. Except the money wasn't from construction consulting, like he claimed. Jade had once borrowed Lena's purse for lip gloss and found 3 prescription bottles, oxycodone, Xanax, Ambien, all from different pharmacies, all in Lena's name, but clearly not for her. Victor controlled her cards, her phone, her nursing school tuition. He'd told her nobody back in Ohio wanted her anymore. Another lie to keep her trapped. While the adults argued over Cards Against Humanity, I slipped out the front door into the freezing night. Snow had started, fat, silent flakes under the streetlights. My fingers were so cold I could barely dial. 911 picked up on the second ring. I gave them the address, told them exactly what I'd seen. Told them the victim was still inside with her abuser and needed medical attention now. 12 minutes later, 2 Aurora PD cruisers rolled up the cul-de-sac with lights, but no sirens. The perfect Thanksgiving cracked open like an egg. Victor tried charm first, then anger, then bargaining. It didn't matter. Lena was shaking too hard to stand by the time the female officer got her alone in the study. She showed them the fresh bruises, the old ones, the cigarette burn on her shoulder blade she'd hidden for months. They found the guns in his Escalade first, 2 unregistered handguns, then the brick of cocaine vacuum sealed under the spare tire, plus a ledger with names even I recognized. Turns out half the loans to family were payments for storing packages, making bank deposits, looking the other way. My parents' kitchen remodel, paid for with drug money, none of us asked about because the granite was so pretty. Chaos unfolded in real time. Victor cuffed in our driveway while neighbors filmed on their phones. Mom screaming that I'd destroyed the family. Dad roaring about betrayal and loyalty. Grandma aged 10 years in 10 minutes when the detective explained her mortgage might be seized. Uncle Ray vomiting in the snow when they read him his rights for questioning. The fallout lasted years. Federal investigation, asset forfeiture. Uncle Ray's restaurant shuttered. Grandma and Grandpa moved into a senior apartment in Fort Collins. My parents sold the big house on the ridge and moved to a 2-bedroom in Aurora to pay legal bills. Some cousins still won't speak to me. Others sent quiet Christmas cards that just say, "Thank you." Lena testified for 3 days. Hair pulled back, no makeup, voice steady. She told the jury about the broken ribs, the forced pills, the nights she slept in the bathtub because it had a lock. She brought her real family from Toledo. Mom, Dad, little brother, who'd been frantic for 4 years thinking she was dead. Victor got 30 years. No parole. We don't do big Thanksgivings anymore. The family splintered into cautious fragments that orbit each other at weddings and funerals only. Last month, I got a message from Lena. New last name, new life in Oregon. A photo of her on a beach at sunset. Wind in her hair. No sunglasses. No fear. Just the words. You gave me my life back when every adult in that house chose silence. Thank you for being braver at 18 than all of us combined. Sometimes I drive up to the old neighborhood. The house sold to a young couple with new babies and no ghosts. Snow still falls the same way. Soft, merciless, covering everything. I learned that night that family can be a verb people use when they mean don't tell. That loyalty bought with blood money rots from the inside. That doing the right thing can burn your whole world down and still be the only thing worth doing. My wife Sarah started the turkey at 4:30 a.m. By 2 o'clock, our house in the wooded hills outside Colorado Springs was overflowing with noise and smells that usually make Thanksgiving feel sacred. Brown butter, mashed potatoes, sausage cornbread stuffing, cinnamon drifting from the pumpkin pies cooling on the island. 24 people total. My sister Jen and her husband flew in from Phoenix with their 3 boys. Sarah's parents drove down from Fort Collins with the green bean casserole nobody dares improve on. My dad was already on his 2nd bourbon and telling the same hunting story for the 12th year. The Broncos game flickered on the TV while kids thundered up and down the stairs like a herd of caffeinated elk. Everything felt perfect. Safe. Normal. Then the doorbell rang at 3:47 p.m. 3 hard chimes, the kind that rattle the stained glass panel. Our Labradoodle Moose lost his mind, barking like the house was on fire. Through the frosted sidelight, I saw a man on the porch in a plain brown jacket and matching pants, holding a box about the size of a microwave. No UPS logo, no FedEx, no Amazon smile. I was carving the turkey, apron smeared with gravy, so Jen's husband Mike started toward the door. I stopped him with a raised knife. We're not expecting anything. The bell rang again, longer this time. A man's voice, calm but edged. Package for the Miller residence. Needs an adult signature. Sarah looked up from plating cranberry sauce, frowning. Everything I ordered came Tuesday. I stepped to the peephole. The guy's uniform looked off. The brown was too dark, almost rust-colored, and the stitching was sloppy. No name tag, no barcode scanner on his belt, just a box and a clipboard. I spoke through the door. "Leave it on the porch, man. Happy Thanksgiving." "Can't do that, sir," he answered instantly. "Live signature only." Then, quieter, almost amused. "I can smell that bird from here. You've got a full house." Every adult in the living room went still. The kids kept playing, oblivious. Sarah already had her phone up, recording through the narrow window beside the door. The man turned toward the lens like he knew exactly where it was. That's when we saw his face. Pale gray eyes that barely blinked. A thick, keloid scar running from the corner of his mouth to the hinge of his jaw, pink and shiny like melted plastic. Buzz-cut hair going salt and pepper at the temples, and a smile that never reached those eyes. He lifted the box toward the window and mouthed something Sarah later slowed down frame by frame. "You weren't supposed to be home." My dad muttered that the guy was probably just having a bad day. My brother-in-law Ryan was already dialing 911 on speaker in the kitchen so everyone could hear. The man set the box down, pulled out his phone, and started taking pictures. Front door, garage, every window he could reach without stepping off the porch. Then he walked the perimeter, like he was casing the place in plain sight, crouching to photograph the basement window, wells, the side gate latch, even the dog door we never use because Moose is too big. Sarah's mom herded the kids upstairs and locked them in the bonus room with Frozen 2 on blast. I grabbed the Glock we keep in the safe above the fridge. Ryan found the aluminum baseball bat in the mudroom. We took positions, one at the front, one watching the sliding glass door that opens to the deck. He was in the backyard now. We heard the gate creak, footsteps crunching on the frozen pine needles, the rattle of the slider handle. Moose hurled himself against the glass, snarling like a wolf. The man's voice floated through. 5 minutes. That's all I need. I left something last time." There was no last time. He picked up one of the Adirondack chairs, raised it over his head like a battering ram. My dad roared through the locked door that he was armed, and the police were 2 minutes out. The guy laughed, a dry, hollow sound that made the hair on my neck stand straight. He lowered the chair, stepped right up to the glass, and cupped his hands to peer inside. Moose went berserk. For 30 long seconds, the only sounds were the dog, the distant movie upstairs, and 24 people trying not to breathe. Then he reached into his pocket. We thought gun. We thought bomb. We thought end of story. Instead, he pulled out a folded sheet of paper and pressed it against the slider. A printed satellite map of our subdivision. 8 houses circled in red Sharpie. Ours had an X over it, and the words, Thanksgiving 22, written in block letters. He tapped our roof twice, dragged a gloved finger across his throat, and smiled that dead smile again. Sirens finally wailed in the distance. 2 sheriff's SUVs tearing up the switchback road. The man heard them too. He folded the map, tucked it away, gave a lazy 2-finger salute, and strolled back through the side gate like he was leaving a backyard barbecue. By the time deputies rolled in, lights cutting red and blue across the snow-dusted pines, he was gone. Vanished on foot into the greenbelt behind the houses. Sarah played them the video. I watched the younger deputy's face drain of color when the scar came into focus. They knew him. Name, Curtis Wade Redding. 43 years old. Released from Colorado State Pen 3 months earlier, after doing 7 of a 12-year stretch for home invasion, aggravated assault, and attempted murder. Cut his ankle monitor the week before Thanksgiving. Same MO every time. Holidays, birthdays, Super Bowl parties. He liked houses full of people because chaos covers noise, and witnesses freeze when kids are around. The cigarette butts they found under our back deck, 29 of them, meant he'd been watching us for days. Probably saw Sarah posting about 24 for turkey on the neighborhood Facebook page. Probably watched us carry in the extra folding tables. They found the box he left on the porch. Inside, a cheap digital kitchen timer wrapped in duct tape, wires dangling, ticking down from 00:00:00. It was a fake bomb, just enough to terrify, but the message was clear. They caught Redding 4 nights later in Castle Rock, wearing the exact same brown outfit, ringing the bell at a house hosting a 10-year-old's birthday party. The dad recognized him from the bolo photos and tackled him on the porch before he could reach for whatever was in that box. Trial was fast. Sarah's video played on loop for the jury. Redding never changed expression, just stared at us across the courtroom with those unblinking gray eyes. Life without parole. The judge called him a predator who weaponizes celebration. We sold the house the next spring. Too many nights I woke up reaching for the Glock because I heard the doorbell in my sleep. We moved 40 minutes north, higher into the foothills, where the roads dead end and the only delivery drivers are the ones we know by name. We still host Thanksgiving. Smaller now. 12 people max. Moose has gone gray around the muzzle, but we added a Belgian Malinois named Sarge, who doesn't play. And we have one unbreakable rule. If the doorbell rings and we're not expecting you, we don't answer. Ever. Some traditions are worth keeping. Some doors are better left closed. We left Boise at dawn the day before Thanksgiving. The Subaru packed so tight the dog could barely turn around. My wife Claire had the playlist ready. Old Springsteen for her, Taylor Swift for our daughter Ellie, 15 going on 30. Our son Mason, 11 and convinced he was starving every 43 minutes, had already demolished half a bag of Cheetos before we hit Caldwell. The plan was simple. 8 hours across southern Idaho, then up through Utah to my brother's place outside Salt Lake. Same drive we'd done every year since the kids were in car seats. Snow was coming down light over the high desert, just enough to make the sagebrush look dusted with sugar. Everything felt normal, safe, festive even, until the gas station outside Twin Falls. It sat alone at an exit that Google barely acknowledges, just 2 pumps under a rusted Conoco sign, a squat cinder block store, and a single semi idling like a sleeping dinosaur. Claire took the kids inside for bathrooms and hot chocolate while I filled the tank. Through the plate glass window, I watched them move down the narrow aisles. Ellie rolling her eyes at something Mason said, Claire steering them both like a border collie with too much energy. That's when I noticed the man. He stood near the Red Bull cooler in a faded Carhartt coat, the color of dried pine needles. Tall, thin, beard like he'd forgotten to shave for a month. Nothing obviously wrong, except he never picked anything up. He just shifted his weight every time my family moved, keeping them in his line of sight, like a hunter tracking deer through brush. When Claire headed to the register, he drifted toward the motor oil display. When Mason darted to the candy aisle, the man suddenly needed beef jerky. When Ellie lingered by the sunglasses rack, he was right behind her, close enough that she glanced back, frowned, and stepped away. I finished pumping and went inside. The bell over the door jingled. He turned his back to me immediately, suddenly fascinated by a rack of trucker hats. I poured myself a coffee I didn't want, and planted myself between him and my kids. He smelled like cigarette smoke and diesel and something sour I couldn't name. We paid. He got in line behind us, even though the other register was wide open. Mason pressed against Claire's leg like he was 5 again. Ellie kept shooting glances at the man, her usual teenage armor gone. Outside, I buckled Mason in, locked the doors, told Claire quietly what I'd seen. She laughed it off at first. Small towns, weird people. But her eyes kept flicking to the store windows. The man never came out. We pulled back onto I-84 doing 75. Christmas music already playing on the radio because Ellie insisted. 20 minutes later, Mason needed another bathroom stop. Shocker. And when I glanced in the rear view to tease him, I saw it. A battered silver Ford F-150, 3 cars back. Same coat behind the wheel. I told myself it was nothing. Silver pickups are the state bird of Idaho. But I started testing. 80, then 65. Lane changes for no reason. The truck matched every move, hanging back just far enough to look accidental. Claire saw my knuckles go white on the wheel. "Talk to me," I told her. She twisted around. The truck dropped back a little, but it was still there. When I took a random exit toward a nowhere town called Bliss, the Ford followed, tires squealing. The exit looped back to nothing, just frost-covered alfalfa fields and a single grain elevator like a rusted cathedral. I pulled over on the shoulder. The truck slowed, then blew past without even turning its headlight glare on us. But half a mile ahead, it pulled onto the gravel apron and waited, hazards blinking once like a signal. Claire was already on with 911, voice low and furious, giving mile markers, while the kids went unnaturally quiet in the back. Ellie had killed her music. Mason stared out the window with huge eyes. We got back on the interstate. The silver truck reappeared in the mirror like it had never left. For the next 40 miles, he played with us. Speed up, he sped up. Slow down, he crawled until cars honked. He'd pull alongside and pace us, staring across 4 feet of cold air. I saw his face clearly then. Thin lips, sunken cheeks, eyes the color of creek ice. He was mouthing something over and over. Claire rolled her window down just enough to hear it over the wind. "Pull over." Ellie started crying. Silent, angry tears she tried to hide. Mason curled into a ball on the seat. Claire kept the dispatcher on speaker, reading license plates of passing cars so they'd have some record if this ended badly. Traffic thickened near Snowville. Everyone heading to family, trunks full of pies and presents. The truck used it like cover, weaving closer. Then he made his move. He rammed us. Not hard enough to wreck us, just enough to jolt the car sideways and make the kids scream. The second hit took off our rear bumper cover. The third scraped paint and sent sparks flying. Claire was shouting mile markers now, voice cracking. The dispatcher told us the next rest area was 6 miles ahead. Big one, always has troopers. I floored it, weaving through minivans and sedans like a maniac. The truck stayed on us, grill grinning in the mirror. I didn't signal for the rest area. At the last second, I jerked the wheel right, tires howling. The Ford tried to follow but overshot, locked up brakes, and fishtailed across the gore point in a cloud of smoke. We shot into the rest area doing 60, sliding to a stop right in front of the main building where families were walking dogs and stretching legs. I killed the engine, told everyone to lock doors and stay put, and stepped out shaking so hard I could barely stand. The silver truck never came in. 5 minutes later, 2 Utah Highway Patrol cruisers screamed up, boxing our car in like a shield. The trooper who took Claire's phone had a shaved head and kind eyes that had seen everything. He watched the dashcam footage she'd managed to record when the truck pulled alongside. His jaw tightened. They knew him. Name: Travis Lee Gann, 47. Released from Utah State Prison 91 days earlier, after doing 12 years for abduction and assault. Cut his parole ankle monitor the week before Thanksgiving. Same pattern every time. Watches families at remote gas stations. Picks the ones with kids and out-of-state plates. Follows until he can run them off the road in the middle of nowhere. They found zip ties, duct tape, a loaded .38, and a spiral notebook in his truck with 37 pages of license plates. Ours was circled in red with the words, "2 kids, Thanksgiving I-84, written beside it. They caught him 20 minutes later, trying to blend into a truck stop outside Tremonton. He still had pieces of our bumper stuck in his grill. Trial was in March. Claire and I testified. The prosecutor played her video on a big screen, the truck pacing us, the ramming, Gann's face screaming through the window. He got 45 years this time. The judge called him a hunter who preys on holidays. We still make the drive to my brother's every Thanksgiving. Different route now, smaller highways, more towns. We stop only at big travel plazas with cameras and security. The kids are older. Ellie drives sometimes. Mason still eats too many Cheetos. But we never, ever leave each other alone at a gas pump again. Some shadows you outrun. Some you just learn to keep in the rear view forever. Thanksgiving had always been sacred in the one day nothing could go wrong. This year, the air in Grandma Evelyn's old colonial house in Concord, Massachusetts, smelled of sage, brown butter, and the crisp bite of late November snow that had started falling just after noon. I'm Daniel, 34, finally back on my feet after a divorce papers and too many bar tabs. I'd driven up from Boston the night before to help Grandma get the house ready. The plan was perfect on paper. My older sister Lauren and her husband Mike were driving in from Portland with their 6-year-old daughter Harper. They were due by 1 p.m. My younger brother Ryan, the perpetual bachelor, had sworn he'd leave Providence at 10 sharp and bring the maple bourbon pecan pies from that little shop on Wickenden Street everyone fights over. Grandma kept wiping her hands on the same red and white apron she'd worn since the 80s, checking the turkey every 12 minutes, even though the thermometer hadn't moved yet. I was wrist-deep in garlic mashed potatoes when her phone buzzed on the marble counter. She laughed, flour on her cheek. Probably Ryan saying he's stuck behind a salt truck again. "Sweetheart, can you read it for me?" I dried my hands, picked up the phone, and the kitchen suddenly felt 10 degrees colder. Unknown number. Single line of text. "We took your granddaughter." She begged. Cute. $75,000 cash by sunset, or we mail pieces. No police. Wait for the drop. Grandma saw my face drain. "Daniel?" I turned to the screen. Her knees buckled. I caught her before she hit the tile. She started dialing Lauren immediately, straight to voicemail. Then again. Then again. Ryan walked in right then, snow melting off his boots, pie boxes balanced in his arms. "Whoa, what happened? Somebody die?" I handed him the phone. The color left his face so fast I thought he'd pass out. He did what any millennial does, Googled the number. Articles popped up instantly. Holiday kidnapping text. Scam spikes across New England. Elderly targeted with AI voice clones. FBI warns of virtual kidnapping rings. Ryan exhaled hard. "It's the scam, Graham. They do this every year. They scrape Facebook for family photos, send panic texts, hope someone wires money before they figure it out." Grandma wasn't listening. She was staring at the driveway like Lauren's Subaru would appear if she wished hard enough. Then the second text came. A photo. Lauren's silver Outback pulled over on the shoulder of Route 2, just past the Walden Pond exit. Driver's door open. Snow piling on the seat. No Lauren. Caption. "Clock's ticking, Evelyn." Grandma made this sound, half sob, half animal, and dropped into a chair. Ryan kept saying it was photoshopped, that the scammers grab any similar car from socials, but his voice cracked. Because 2 weeks earlier, Lauren had posted a picture of that exact dent in her door with the caption, "Thanks, Boston drivers." I called Lauren 20 times. Voicemail. I called Mike's cell. Voicemail. I even called little Harper's iPad, the one with the glittery pink case. Straight to voicemail. Grandma was already reaching for her checkbook. I'll go to the bank. I'll get it. Just tell me where. Ryan grabbed her hand. We're not paying terrorists on Thanksgiving, Graham. The third message was a 9-second voice memo. We hit play on speaker, and Lauren's voice filled the kitchen, thick with tears and something chemical. Grandma, please. They know I was stopping at the pie shop. They know Harper's favorite pie is pumpkin. They're hurting her if you don't. A man's voice in the background. Time's up. Click. Grandma screamed. Actually, screamed. I'd never heard that sound come out of a human. Ryan called 911 while I held Grandma on the floor. The dispatcher sounded bored at first. Yes, sir. We've had 30 of these today. Until Ryan played the voice memo. Then her tone changed. Stay on the line. Units en route. 2 Concord PD cruisers pulled up within 8 minutes, snow swirling blue and red across the windows. Officer Delgado, mid-40s, calm eyes, took one look at the messages and muttered, "This one's different." They pinged Lauren's phone. Last location, a rest area off Route 2, 12 miles west. Phone had been motionless for 53 minutes. Delgado told Ryan to ride with him. I stayed with Grandma. The house felt like it was breathing wrong. The oven timer went off for the turkey. One lonely, absurd ding. And nobody moved. 23 minutes later, Ryan called. His voice shook so badly I barely recognized it. They found the car. Door open. Harper's car seat still strapped in the back. But the straps are cut. Purse gone. Phone gone. There's blood on the steering wheel, Dan. Not much, but... and a Polaroid on the dash. It's last year's Thanksgiving photo. The one Grandma framed in the hallway. Someone drew a red X over Lauren's face and wrote "Pay" in Sharpie. I thought Grandma would faint. Instead, she stood up, walked to the closet, and pulled out the old metal lockbox where she kept cash for emergencies. I have $32,000 in here. I'll get the rest. Officer Delgado's voice came over Ryan's speaker. Ma'am, do not touch that money. We're treating this as a real abduction now. State police are 10 minutes out. Then the fourth message arrived. Another voice memo, longer this time. Lauren again, barely whispering. They made me record the first one in the parking lot. They have Harper in the other car. Please, Grandma. They said, if you call the police, they'll... A child's scream in the background. Harper's scream unmistakable. Then the audio cut with the sound of duct tape ripping. Grandma dropped the phone. It shattered on the hardwood. The next hour was chaos in slow motion. State police swarmed the house. A detective asked if anyone in the family had money problems, gambling debts, resentful exes. Grandma kept saying, no, we're boring people. We don't have enemies. I couldn't stop thinking about one thing Lauren said in the second voice memo. They knew I was stopping at the pie shop. Only 4 people on Earth knew Lauren was making that stop. Me, Ryan, Mike, and her boyfriend Nathan. Nathan, who Grandma adored. Nathan, who'd helped fix the gutters last month. Nathan, who Lauren had confided in me 3 nights ago, was getting dumped after Thanksgiving because she found out he'd been stealing from her savings to pay online poker debts. I told the detective. Quietly, in the pantry so Grandma wouldn't hear. Everything after that moved like a movie on fast forward. They pulled Nathan's cell records. Phone had been pinging near the same rest area an hour before the car was found. They ran his plates. A gray van registered to his cousin, Dominic Moretti, known to Organized Crime Task Force for extortion and kidnapping for ransom cases in Connecticut and New York. By 6 p.m., the Massachusetts State Police tactical team hit a rundown motel off a Y-49-5 in Chelmsford. They found Lauren and Harper in room 112, zip-tied, gagged, blindfolded, but alive. Nathan and 2 of Dominic's crew were in the next room, counting stacks of hundreds they'd forced Grandma to photograph earlier as proof of life payment. Turns out the whole thing was a hybrid scam, part virtual kidnapping, part real. They'd studied the holiday scam scripts online, then decided to make one genuine to cash in big. Nathan had been feeding them every detail for months. Grandma's savings, Lauren's route, Harper's school drop-off times, everything. He thought if they grabbed them quick, got the money, and vanished before police sorted real from fake, they'd be gone. They almost were. Lauren had a concussion from where they'd slammed her head against the window. Harper wouldn't let go of her mother for 3 days. Grandma's voice still cracks when she talks about walking into that motel room and seeing her baby girl curled in Lauren's lap. Nathan took a plea. 15 years. His cousins got 25 each. We never ate Thanksgiving dinner that year. The turkey sat in the cold oven until the smoke alarm forced us to throw it, pan and all, into the snow in the backyard. Now, every 4th Thursday in November, we still gather at Grandma's house in Concord. The table is set the same way. Same china, same cloth napkins. But the curtains stay open so we can see every car that pulls in. We share real-time locations from the moment we leave our driveways. And nobody posts a single photo until the next day. Some scars don't show. Lauren still flinches when a car door slams too hard. Harper, now 9, sleeps with the hallway light on. Grandma keeps an old photo from that last normal Thanksgiving in a drawer, not on the wall anymore. We learned the monsters don't always come from the dark. Sometimes they come from the chair right next to you, passing the gravy, smiling while they count your money in their head. And every year, when the snow starts to fall and the kitchen smells like sage again, we lock the doors a little earlier, just in case. I never meant to host Thanksgiving. My older brother Chris and his wife always did it at their big place in Rochester, New York, but their 3rd kid arrived 6 weeks early in October, and my sister-in-law flat out refused to cook for 20 people while on bed rest. So the torch got passed to me, Mia, 28, first-year homeowner, and suddenly in charge of feeding 4 generations in a 1901 Craftsman I'd only owned for 9 months in Syracuse's Strathmore neighborhood. The house was perfect on paper. Wide front porch, original oak floors, a dining room that actually fit a 12-foot farm table, and a kitchen with 2 ovens. What the real estate listing didn't mention was the detached garage that sat 40 feet behind the house, the overgrown lilac hedge that swallowed the entire back fence, or the fact that the basement windows were the old Hopper style, glass blocks on hinges that opened inward like hungry little mouths. Tuesday night before Thanksgiving, I was in the backyard wrestling with the turkey fryer my dad insisted on bringing. It was already dark by 4:15, the kind of central New York dark that feels wet and heavy. Temperature hovering at 19 degrees, wind off Onondaga Lake cutting straight through my coat. I had the floodlight on above the back door, but its beam barely reached the garage. While I was trying to figure out if the propane tank was full, I saw them. Boot prints in the thin skim of snow that had fallen that afternoon. Big, deep lugs, men's size 13 or 14, coming out of the alley behind the garage, crossing the yard in a perfectly straight line, stopping directly under each of the 3 basement Hopper windows. At every window, the prints paused, turned, faced the house. You could see where the snow was packed down harder, like someone had stood there long enough for body heat to melt it a little. Then the trail kept going, along the foundation, past the bulkhead doors and disappeared into the hedge toward the neighbor's yard. I told myself it was probably the meter reader. National Grid guys wear big boots, right? Still, I took a picture with my phone, the flash turning the snow blue-white and the footprints black as cuts. Inside, my girlfriend Leah looked at the photo and went very quiet. She's a pediatric nurse, used to staying calm in emergencies, but her voice dropped half an octave. "Those aren't grid boots, Mia. Look at the tread. That's a military surplus pattern. My ex wore the same ones." We went down to the basement together. The air smelled like cold stone and the faint sweetness of mouse bait. All 3 hopper windows were closed, but when Leah pushed on the middle one, the whole frame flexed like wet cardboard. The latch didn't catch. Someone had forced it at some point, and it never seated right again. We shoved a 2x4 under the lip so it couldn't swing inward, then wedged another scrap of lumber against the side windows for good measure. It felt ridiculous, like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. But it was 10 p.m., 2 days before Thanksgiving, and every hardware store within 20 miles was already closed. Thanksgiving Day arrived in a blizzard of minivans and casserole dishes. Mom and Dad at 9:30 with the roaster oven and 3 pies. Chris, Jen, and the kids at 10:45. The baby asleep in his carrier despite the chaos. My Aunt Teresa and Uncle Ray at noon with enough manicotti to feed a wedding. Leah's parents at 1 with the electric carving knife and a bottle of bourbon older than I am. By 2 o'clock, the house was loud, warm, and smelled like garlic and wood smoke from the fireplace I'd finally figured out how to light. 22 people total, kids running wild, football on the TV, somebody's Spotify playlist fighting with my grandmother's Frank Sinatra CD. Normal. Perfect. We sat down to eat at 4:30, candles flickering because the old chandelier only worked half the time anyway. Plates were passed, wine poured. My dad gave the same prayer he's given since I was 6. I was finally relaxing, congratulating myself on pulling this off when every light in the house died at once. Not flickered, not dimmed, just gone. 1 second the dining room glowed gold. The next it was black except for the candles and the orange pulse of the fireplace. The kids screamed. My cousin Mateo, age 7, started crying that the Grinch stole Christmas early. Dad's first instinct was the breaker box in the basement. I practically tackled him. "No, I'll go. Stay here." Leia grabbed 2 mag lights from the junk drawer and came with me. We left everyone else in the dining room with strict instructions to keep the kids there and lock the kitchen door behind us. The basement stairs creaked under our weight. Flashlight beams jittered across cobwebs and stacked moving boxes I still hadn't unpacked. The breaker panel was on the far wall. Every switch was up. Nothing tripped. Leia swept her light across the room and froze. The 2x4 we'd wedged under the middle hopper window was lying on the concrete 10 feet away. The window itself hung open like a broken jaw, snow blowing in on a hard diagonal, already piling in little drifts on the floor. And there were footprints, wet, fresh, leading from the window straight across the basement, stopping directly beneath the stairs we were standing on. Leah's hand found mine and squeezed so hard I felt bones shift. She didn't speak, just pulled me backward up the stairs. I slammed the basement door, threw the deadbolt I'd never once used, and wedged a dining room chair under the knob for good measure. Back in the kitchen, my mom was lighting every candle she could find. Dad had his phone to his ear, trying to report a power outage to National Grid. I took the phone from him, ended the call, and dialed 911 instead. 2 Syracuse PD cruisers arrived in under 12 minutes, lights cutting red, blue through the blowing snow. Officers Moretti and Patel came in with guns drawn and those blinding tactical flashlights. I gave them the short version, while 22 terrified family members crowded the hallway. They cleared the basement first, then the whole house, then the garage and backyard. When they came back upstairs, Officer Moretti's face was grim. Basement's empty now, but someone was definitely inside. We found tool marks on all 3 hopper windows. The middle one was jimmied open tonight. And your exterior power drop has been cut. Clean slice with heavy cutters, right where the line comes off the pole in the alley. Patel added the part that turned my blood to ice. We've had 6 similar calls in the last 2 hours, all within a mile of here. All big family gatherings. All power lines cut from the alley. All basement windows forced. One neighbor on Summit Avenue came home early and caught the guy halfway through their Bilco doors. He ran. But we've got K9 and a helicopter up. Description matches what you saw in the snow. Tall male, dark Carhartt coat, black ski mask. They found him 90 minutes later, hiding in a shed 3 streets over, soaked in sweat despite the cold. Bolt cutters still in his backpack, along with zip ties, duct tape, and a list, handwritten, of 12 addresses on the west side. Mine was number 8, circled twice in red pen. Turns out he'd been watching the neighborhood for 2 weeks. Thanksgiving was perfect. Most houses either empty or packed into one location. Cars lining the streets, lights blazing in the back of the house, while the front stayed dark. He'd cut power to create panic, wait for people to either flee or cluster upstairs, then slip in through the basement and rob the place blind while everyone was distracted or gone. If we'd reacted the way he expected, scattered to check the fuse box, sent someone outside to look at the meter, he'd have been upstairs with us in under 2 minutes. He never counted on 22 people refusing to split up, on Leah and me barricading the only interior door, on my grandmother sitting at the top of the stairs with Uncle Ray's .38 in her lap like it was 1944 and the Luftwaffe was coming. Power came back on at 11:07 p.m. The cheer that went up when the chandelier flickered to life was louder than any touchdown roar I've ever heard. We didn't finish dinner. Most of the food got wrapped and sent home with family. Half the guests slept on couches and air mattresses because no one wanted to drive in the storm, knowing he might have friends still out there. The police kept a car on our block for 3 days. I had real window wells installed the next week. Steel grates, locks on every hopper, motion lights that turn the backyard into a stadium, and a security system with glass break sensors that scream like banshees if anything so much as breathes on a pane. The guy, real name Darren Michael Kopecki, had done this every major holiday for 6 years up and down the Northeast. Christmas, Easter, 4th of July, and especially Thanksgiving. He called it the empty house jackpot. He got 12 years, no parole. Some nights I still wake up at 3 a.m., convinced I hear the soft scrape of a hopper window swinging in. Leah moved in permanently in December. We got a dog, a 100-pound Malinois mix named Sarge, who sleeps at the top of the basement stairs and growls at shadows. And every Thanksgiving now, no matter how many people we host, the basement door stays deadbolted from the moment the first guest arrives until the last one leaves the next morning. We eat with the lights blazing, every curtain open, every car parked in the backyard under the floodlights so the alley stays empty and bright. Because the house is ours now, and it watches back